Yo, what's up everybody? I know I haven't uploaded videos here recently. It's been really cold outside, as you guys know. But in today's video, I'm going to show you all of the tools and tricks and tips on how to replace your rod tip ends whenever the black ceramic, like if you can see it in that one, breaks out. So today we're going to be doing the end of this, and stay tuned. I'll show you everything you need, part numbers, the tools, and everything where you can do this at home on your own. Alright guys, so here's a couple things that you're going to need. First, the tools to get the rod tip end off. Okay, so first thing, just get you a little lighter at home. We're going to use that to heat up the adhesive that's in the rod tip already to be able to get this eye off. A pair of pliers, which I'm just using my fishing snap ring pliers for this. Don't need anything crazy. You can just use a pair of household pliers. And then either some sort of blade, either a knife or like an X-Acto knife, razor blade. And first thing we're going to do here, and I have already kind of started this, and I was like, oh well, let me go ahead and make a video just in case anybody needs to know how to do this. So first thing that you're going to do is you're going to take your lighter and you're going to just heat it up for about 5 seconds. You want to do the same on the other side. Turn around, heat it up for about 5 seconds. You don't want to leave it on there too long to where it gets too hot, because what will happen is it can actually start messing up the rod material itself because it gets too hot. Now once you get that heated up a little bit, what I did is I just took the razor knife, and I don't know how well you guys can see that, but there is a separation to where you have like I guess this black covering or something to make a smooth transition from the rod to the eye-ring. But right at the edge of the metal, I just ran the X-Acto knife around it to kind of help make a break between those two, so that way they're not attached anymore. Now it's not a huge rush. This is going to be very hot even when you just do the little 5 seconds per side, you know, just a 10-second total rotation around. It's going to make it really hot, so do not touch it with your hands. And then while it's heated up, what you're going to do is you're going to put your pliers on there, and you're just going to turn this to kind of break all the adhesive loose inside of it. So as you can see, I'm turning the rod here, or you can turn the pliers, and as you twist, you're going to want to pull in the direction for the eye-ring to come off. So once you get it off, then you're all finished. Again, this will probably still be hot, so just don't touch it with your hands. Don't put it on anything that it could melt through. So mine's not hot anymore, so I don't have to worry about that because I did already get it off. Now the next thing that we're going to have to do is I went to Academy, and they had these Fuji rod tips. I don't know if these are any good, but I bought every size that they had. I do have other rods that I break sometimes. It just happens. Guys, also take your reel off your rod just to make the work a little bit easier. So once you get to this step, the things that you're going to need, you're going to need some sandpaper. So I have this is a 320 grit, and then I have an 800 grit, and you're going to need a hot glue gun. Now, whenever you find these, if you go to your local Academy, I'll also flip these over so you can get the part numbers. As I was saying, they do have adhesive at Academy. When you find these rod tip holders, I actually found them in the back of the aisle where they keep all the fishing line and stuff like that. Not where they have the rods, but back thing. If you don't know, always feel free to ask them. You can always get these off of Amazon as well. But biggest thing that you want to be concerned about is each rod tip has a different size. Okay, so as if you can notice here, I don't know if you can see in this package, but how big that rod tip is. It might have a little bit too much glare compared to this one. So you can see a sizable difference in the ends and the widths of them. So I went ahead and grabbed everything. I did get the 2 smallest ones that they had available. And I popped this one open, and it was just a little bit too big. And this rod right here is actually the Abu Garcia. That's exactly how I messed up the rod tip. So this is the Abu Garcia Black Max next generation, which I don't even think they make these anymore. But this has always been a good rod and reel combo for me. Also came with a reel on it, which I can't remember the specs on this. It doesn't matter. So I went the second smallest. Didn't work out very well. Here's the part numbers, as you can see, and you'll be able to notice in here that they do change. And the closest one was the smallest one that I could get. That was not a micro rod, but it was BPOT86C is the part number for this one. Rod tip, Fuji original rod tips. They do come with the ceramic inserts in them. Now here's where things get a little bit technical and you have to pay attention to it. So you don't want this moving around a lot on here. Okay, so you want to make sure that you got it as far to the end as possible. Now what we're going to do is we're going to put hot glue around here and down in here, and then we're going to push this back together and we're going to let it cool. One thing you're going to want to do though is once we measure this out of how far to the top that it needs to be, we can see that where the plastic coating is, we need to shave off about that much. Excuse me. So that's what I have the knife for, is just so I can make an incision and cut into it a little bit easier. This is a very sharp knife. So we're just going to cut it around just a little bit in. You probably make 4 or 5 passes on it just to make sure it's cut in there nice and solid. You can check with your fingernail to see how it is. This is a pretty good knife. This is actually a Master USA. Actually, I bought this in a kit. So I don't have any sponsors or anything, so, but very easy, handy, tactical style knife. It's nice, gets the job done. Came super sharp too, which I like a lot. Now, just to kind of break this up a little bit, where I made the cut, I'm just going to grab right at the edge of it and rotate around to kind of break that loose. And you can see there, you don't want to put a lot of pressure on it. You just want to basically break that wrapping loose off of it, that you cut off of it. So I'm going to finish cutting that real quick, or breaking it off. It is hard doing that on camera. And again, like I said, these are just my snap ring pliers. And you can see there, it's just about all the way down. And what you'll do, because this eye is a little bit bigger, I'm actually going to leave it just a little bit on there, so that way I have some structure to it, just so I feel a little bit more confident. and it doesn't move around as much. It's all the way, almost all the way to the end. Now this doesn't have to be perfect. All right, so once you get this all wound down to the length of this, you're going to want to double check your rod tip to make sure it fits on there. Now we have some fraying and stuff on there, nothing to be worried about. What we're going to do is we're just going to burn that down a little bit. That'll get rid of that. And one thing that you have to be concerned about is the edge of this. You don't want an actual edge on there, you want a gradual decline. So that's what we get the sandpaper for. So I'm taking first my 320 grit, and you're just going to grab onto the end right there. You're going to rotate the rod itself back and forth while holding the sandpaper on that edge. So that way we can kind of work it down to where it's not so abrupt or abrasive. So a few times with the 320 grit, and then I'm going to go to the 800 grit. Same spot, just working it back and forth. Now that we've got that sanded down, we've got our eyelet ready. The hot glue gun is pretty much warmed up. We're going to move this stuff out of the way. Oh, excuse me. Now what I've taken here is a metal clothes hanger and ran it up the other eyelids, as you can see here. And you don't have to do this. This is just so I can help make sure it's on there a little bit straighter, because you don't have too long to work with it. You got some time, and you can always warm it up and rotate it later, but I want to try to do a one shot and done. And I got a toothpick here to put the hot glue and push it down in the rod tip itself, so that way it gets in there as much as I can possibly get in there. Some's going to come out of the rod tip, but this is still a little loose, not by much, but enough that it concerns me. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab some of this that is already came out of the hot glue gun, and like I said, we'll do the rod tip itself. You don't need a lot of this, you only need a little bit. If you do get a lot on there, no worries, it will come out the end and you can get rid of it later. Okay, so once that's on there, it's nice and warm, we're going to go ahead and feed this down, and you're just going to push the rod tip in on the rod tip itself. You have to do some little bit of wiggling, especially if it's already starting to cool down, which it is. And if that's the case, take our lighter, we'll heat it up just a little bit. And there you go, you can see it coming out. And then you want to turn, make sure all your eyelids are facing the same direction. I'm actually going to pull this out just to double check and make sure. Alright, and that looks pretty good. So now once this cools off, we're going to clean off this glue here. It's almost completely hard. Like I said, you get a little bit of time to work with it, not much. You can kind of use a lighter to help you move it around a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and turn the hot glue gun off, and then we're going to clean all this up, and we'll be ready to go. Just like that. It's fixed. That's how to fix or repair a rod tip. If you have a Black Max Abu Garcia and you break your rod tip, I use this one right here, BPOT86C from Academy. So again, just to reiterate, the tools that you'll need just to get this job done: pair of pliers, any old pair of pliers, a lighter. You don't have to do the toothpick thing if you don't want to. You're going to need some form of cutter, either a knife, an X-Acto knife, blade, anything that's sharp that can cut without worries. You're going to need you some sandpaper. Grit's not necessarily that big a deal, but always, if you don't know and if you have a 60 or 80, something like that, you break it down a little bit too much, make sure you got you something, you know, 500-600 grit. Even a 320 will work if that's the highest that you got. And a hot glue gun. These are all the tools you need to repair your rod tip. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Be sure to hit a subscribe button and everything, guys. Leave a comment if you got any tips or tricks that I don't know about. Feel free to say something in the comments and let me know. And I'll see y'all in the next one.